Just give me a few minutes here, guys. All right, welcome to this Lightning Friday on September 10th, 2021. I was having some technical issues here. I still kind of am, but rather than try to close this and lose everybody, we're just going to go for it here. So first off, I want to go ahead and welcome the other hosts of Lightning Friday. We have Evan and Jestopher. How are you guys all doing today?
Hey, what's up, Chaz? What's up, Jestopher? How you guys doing? Stoked to be at it. Another Lightning Friday. Got a big week.
Hey, what's up? Glad to be on with you all again for Lightning Friday. Stoked to have that conversation with you all. It's been a big week, so yeah, I'm excited to catch up.
So kind of checking in on our Lightning Network capacity. We are at 2,540 BTC according to Amboss.Space here.
So,
This thing,
do we have a percentage increase what's that look like since last week? I'm curious to see if we got a big bump with all the Salvador stuff.
It looks like there's a 8% change as far as I had to go over to a different Lightning Explorer to see the percentage change. I'm not sure I have it on Amboss. Jestopher, is it on Amboss or am I missing it here?
Yeah, it should be on Amboss on the
there it is.
on the main page. Capacity growth
1%.
That's over the past week.
Yeah. So 35 BTC in the last 7 days on here, it looks like.
Damn. Still growing at a clip.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exploding. But I thought what was interesting with the El Salvador news is it wasn't so much that the capacity grew, but it was quickly reallocated. So I mean, I was really closely watching the IBEX nodes, and just to see the capacity just explode for those nodes that are, and those are the nodes that are behind lots of the merchants and behind that the Chivo wallet. Yeah, so it seems like folks really want to just support the infrastructure that is developing in El Salvador.
Yeah, I saw a couple of blog posts highlighting the Chivo node as well as the IBEX Mercado nodes that our buddies from Guatemala have set up. They're supporting a couple merchants too, so that was really cool to see. And it looks like people have been throwing OpenNode some capacity because they're supporting some of the bigger retailers. Like I think McDonald's uses the OpenNode stuff. Maybe Starbucks and Pizza Hut too. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's just been wild seeing, Lightning payments used at like these major retailers. It's been sort of a trip watching it all happen from afar.
So I think I saw the UX for some of that. Like the one guy went to McDonald's. I can't remember his name. Went to McDonald's and he grabbed whatever, and they printed out the receipt. I guess that linked to printed out a QR code that would take you to an OpenNode invoice, basically, so you could pay on chain or with the Lightning Network. I found that pretty fascinating. I'm not sure if that's the ideal UX, but it's pretty fascinating either way.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of weird things. Like the QR code for McDonald's, at least for the OpenNode stuff, is like instead of showing you the invoice QR, it shows you like a QR with the web page link to the OpenNode, right? So you go there, you can pick your options. And first and foremost, it would be nice to just like see the QR code like directly there. But I think we got to iron out a couple things with like how we handle fallback addresses and what that looks like. Needs to be a little more standardized. But we all knew that going into this there'd be some quirks. It's going to take some time for both Chivo and the government, as well as all these independent retailers, to figure their systems out and to iterate on them. But a lot of the criticism we've heard in the media, like it being like a rocky start, like lots of glitches, it's sort of, at least from what I've ascertained, has been greatly exaggerated.
So yeah, I've definitely heard, it go in both directions as far as like the rollout, that it was not great for certain people, and then others were kind of spreading some FUD out there. But it's starting to sound like overall the situation is pretty positive. There are things to work out, but it seems like those are pretty well in hand. Like those kinds of things are things people kind of thought about beforehand and were able to, we're gonna be able to solve them eventually, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like people will be listening to feedback. It looks like the government has already responded to feedback, put it out there. So it looks like day one, we had a really big concern with privacy, and it looks like the invoices generated from the Chivo wallet actually put the receiver's full name in there. So there was a bit of a privacy concern there, which frankly was quite awful. But it looks like the very next day it got corrected, and in its place in the description field, it got replaced with the person who brought to everyone's attention on Twitter, Matt Alberg, from I think at Useful Tulips, and I thought that was pretty humorous. Hopefully, they keep this sort of tongue-in-cheek attitude going. However, that description field could probably be a bit confusing, so hopefully it's just an Easter egg for this week, and hopefully users can just set the description field themselves, really take advantage of the protocol and keep track of accounting there. Seems like there's like quite a few bugs in Chivo as far as their interface and whatnot. So it does seem like there's a lot of room for improvement, but really encouraging at least that they were able to squash a pretty big privacy issue out the gate.
Yeah, that was definitely a bad look to have like people's actual names after they've KYC'd on this platform. But I guess that was all part of just downloading the government wallet, and people still have options to move away from that, move to a different wallet, probably custodial, that would be easy to use like from day one. And then to follow that up, we also saw the payment go out to the person that reported the bug. Like that payment happened in Chivo, sort of as a thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I thought that was just wild that like someone like directly from the government just like receive a Bitcoin payment saying, yeah, thanks for crushing this bug, or at least bringing it to the broader attention.
Yeah, it was a nice hat tip. Hopefully it didn't confuse too many people just seeing all these invoices. Like, who the hell is Matt Alberg if you haven't been following, So let's see what that looks like moving forward. Yeah, crazy week. Definitely some stuff to iron out there. Seems like some of the ATMs have to be a little more stocked. It definitely looked like they had a rush of people going to them to cash out. So that proved to be a little problematic. But we always knew that the first country to do this would not be like the smoothest thing. This would always be the hardest one to get rolling, right? They say the first nation you onboard to Bitcoin will be your hardest. So yeah, it seems like we might get another one quite soon. Have you guys read the Panama Bill? Sounds like they're trying to make, well, Bitcoin and maybe other cryptocurrencies legal tender down there shortly.
Blowing my mind over here.
Yeah, that would be one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one country is probably a lot to take on right now. But I mean, it's exciting nonetheless. But I don't know. I was hearing at least the maxis say that it might have been a bit of a shitcoin bill.
Yeah, I think it included Ethereum. I think the bill still has to be voted on, but the legislation has been proposed at least. It's by, I think, one of their congressmen, Gabriel Silva. And yeah, I think this one is more shitcoiny as it includes Ethereum too, at least. So yeah, that could add some added complications. But it's at least promising to see other nations, thinking about this. I'm sure a lot of other ones will also be looking at El Salvador in the coming months and years, and seeing how they fare with this. But we shouldn't be expecting any nations, at least with their own sovereign currencies, out the gate really to be jumping on this. It makes sense for nations that don't have control of their own currencies, that are suffering all the downsides of the money printing that the United States does, and aren't able to reap any of the benefits of it. And El Salvador is a poor nation by and large, so they don't have all that much to lose in a lot of ways. And they also had a pretty substantial community going and using this technology before this legal tender law came to place. So there's definitely a group of nations that this sort of move will make more sense for, and we should expect to see it happen in first. So Latin America, we know, is gonna probably have a couple more countries pop up with similar bills. I'm curious to see what happens in Africa. I think what's happening as far as the adoption of Bitcoin in Nigeria is maybe even more fascinating than what's going on in El Salvador. People also have this great need to use it out there. But interestingly enough, it seems like the government is, quite a bit opposed to it. So it's not quite the same environment. This is also a nation in which great restrictions are being put on people of all sorts of different groups, especially people who are not getting vaccinated for the COVID-19 vaccine. We're seeing them cut off access to certain people's bank accounts in different regions of the country. So we're going to see a lot of people adopt Bitcoin in the next 10 years out of necessity due to government overreach and people being cut off from their fiat bank accounts. So it's going to be sort of crazy to see where that shakes out and what that really looks like. But it seems like we're getting a little peek of that in Nigeria, at least.
Yeah, it's wild just to think that if people continue to move to Bitcoin and they make the prudent step of taking your keys, your coins, that might mean that one of the tools that governments would use to control a population or to control these groups that might try and overturn a government, they won't have that tool in their toolbox anymore. I think in general it's a pretty insidious tool to say, hey, you don't have a bank account anymore. All of the work that you have done in the past is no longer valid, and you can't access the financial system. You've now lost some freedoms that maybe the government shouldn't have had the ability to control from the get-go.
Yeah, it's crazy. Short term, those sort of moves can really, benefit governments and steer all sorts of dissent, squash all sorts of dissent and steer all sorts of behavior, I should say. But long term, it's going to end up really shooting them in the foot as people are no longer dependent on, the financial systems that, give them half their power. So, some interesting times ahead. And, it's really crazy, even in the West, to see a lot of draconian measures sort of being put in place because of in efforts to fight this virus, or at least that being their stated goal. It might not be so it would be crazy, but it's something we might we might end up seeing here in the West too. We're sort of in unprecedented times, and who really knows? Like, even 18 months ago, who would have thought that we'd be where we are today? So, I'm just grateful that we at least have these great tools at our disposal. But there's still a lot of work to do as far as adoption, as far as the tooling, as far as the privacy on the network. It's acceptance, where you could spend it. But we're slowly seeing the adoption phase happen, and I think getting El Salvador on, and to the extent that we've seen already, even, is massive and super encouraging sign.
I really was a huge fan of Mackenzie Sigalos. Her article with CNBC. I liked just about every piece of that except for the headline, which was saying that Western Union stands to lose $400 million of revenue by remittances now using the Lightning Network to go to El Salvador. But I mean, the other side of that coin, of course, as we all know, is that really it's the people of El Salvador that are saving $400 million a year in fees that they shouldn't have had to be paying to a group like Western Union that essentially just controlled all of the remittances. And so now we get to, like, we have hobbyists right now which are underpricing Western Union massively and providing the remittance service for basically free, so that which like a big part of El Salvador's GDP is now not going to be lost to fees.
Yeah, it's incredible, and that can lift them up like a significant amount. Like, it's sort of criminal in a lot of ways, like what the remittance companies like do. Like, I mean, yeah, they provided a critical service and they helped people, but the pricing and the gouging of people, like, the fees are literally more expensive. They're the higher the poorer the country, the higher the fees they're charging, which is completely awful. And then when people need them the most, like people in Afghanistan, as Taliban is taking over the country again, they're like, "No, we're out. We're gonna dip." Like, Western Union's like, "No, things are too busy. Like, we know people depend on us, but this risk is not our cup of tea." It's predatory in a lot of ways, and being able to help build on this technology that sort of cuts out that vicious middleman. It's really awesome to see. Just seeing people have their sats on their Bitcoin wallet, be in El Salvador, go to an ATM, make their deposit with the Lightning Network, be able to get cash out and pay fees that are less than $1. That rules. That's incredible. And especially when you're talking about remittances and some of these workers who left El Salvador to go and get a job in America or any of these other more prominent Western countries, and they're just breaking their necks doing like a blue collar job, like doing physical labor or like bussing tables at a diner, and sending that money back after working ridiculous hours every week, and seeing like a 30% plus haircut on that just because they're sending that money to a poor nation, just because they are desperate. This is going to be massive. It's going to take a little time for everyone to figure out how the technology works, but having that incentive, like getting that $30 free that week, like everyone had to do a Bitcoin transaction to even just cash that out to dollars. Like, that is massive. Like, this is so understated how big this event is. And it's going to have positive effects. Not that there aren't downsides to this government wallet, potential for surveillance and privacy concerns that we've already seen. But as long as people have a path out and they continue to use this open financials network, the good is going to massively outweigh the bad.
So
on that privacy front, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think the privacy topic's a good one too, so go ahead.
On that privacy front, now electronic payments will happen over the Lightning Network, and then the alternative for that is obvious is simply US dollar cash. So do you think we'll sort of sidestep the surveillance that happens with normal bank cards simply by just introducing the Lightning Network, and not have, for example, your Chase bank account be able to sell the data on your purchases to advertisers? I don't know. What are your thoughts on the impacts of that? Because it seems like we'll just be cutting out bank cards, which have made a habit of not only transmitting information on your purchases, but also the information about who you are that could potentially get leaked in Equifax or whatnot.
So, and I'll go ahead and jump in here. So my thought process is it depends on what the wallet they're using, I guess, right? So if everyone's sitting on the government wallet, I don't see how it doesn't end up being basically the same thing. We had just how Evan went through the story of how people had their names printed on their Lightning invoices. It doesn't seem strange to me that on the back end somewhere, all the information's just sitting there, the honeypot's still there, but we have the facade of Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. So I'm not sure, for those particular set of people that are using the Chivo wallet, if they're good, and maybe even on the Bitcoin Beach side, if someone knows the specifics on their setup, that'd be great. But from my understanding is it's a community project where you kind of enter in and you're in a custodial Lightning setup, basically, right? And I'm not sure if the privacy is all that great over there either. But obviously, if we could get people, out of Dodge, so to speak, and get over to a Zeus wallet or whatever, a Moon, a Phoenix, a Breeze, all those would be good too. But I'm still skeptical that a lot of people are going to make that jump right away. That's going to be a very uphill battle, and I don't know what would really change that in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, it is multifaceted. There's a lot of different elements of it. Obviously, if you don't have to have your own bank account and you can just have your money on the Lightning Network, and you're not worrying about credit card processors either, you're cutting out a lot of middlemen there. However, there are a lot of new hubs that are able to collect data. We need to think about, first and foremost, Chivo Wallet, which is probably the most dangerous, because those are the guys with all the guns too. It's a government-run wallet, so you got to consider that. Then, it's the community hubs, of course. Obviously, something like Bitcoin Beach is collecting a lot of information, and you don't have that privacy. But there's sort of some different dynamics to it because, the servers are sort of within reach, and if someone wants to, they could just spin up their own, more local version of that. So, that's one of the perks of open source software. But then you also got to think about the payment processors. Is OpenNode combing through that data? Yeah, probably. But beyond that, if a merchant really wants to, they could just spin up their own infrastructure and cut everyone else out. So while it's not perfect, it's definitely much better. But then, there's the challenge of the wallets too, which is quite a challenge in a lot of ways. I think having people go from a custodial wallet, so I guess there's Bitcoin Beach, there's Wallet of Satoshi, and there's Blue Wallet, right? And those are all the custodial ones, right? And those wallets, they have visibility into your payments as well as hold the keys, right? So they're custodial in that, they could run away with everything tomorrow. Then you have the wallets like Moon and Breeze, which I recommend a lot for people looking to hold their own keys, and Phoenix is very good too. But you're sort of dependent on these providers to make those payments, and there's some level of visibility into the payments you're making too. And then lastly, at the end of the spectrum is the fully sovereign wallets, right, where you're running your own node. You have all the block data, you're validating everything, and you're sending everything out the door. Something like Zeus or Zap, or if you're on the desktop, Ride the Lightning or Thunderhub. But, those have the UX challenges of, managing your channels and doing all the liquidity. So, there's levels to it. We're not going to just have someone in El Salvador go from 0 to 100 overnight. But we need to make the tools better and more accessible and easier for them to move down and make that procession down the line. So I think the liquidity is probably the hardest challenge in it. But, I feel like we're still really early on, and people like Breeze and Moon, despite their trade-offs, have made some really awesome solutions. And even if there is a bit of visibility that these providers can see, the fact that these people have full control of, their finances otherwise is pretty massive. So yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it, and there's definitely a lot more education needed, and we need to be thinking about making much more not even just Spanish language resources, but resources in a plethora of languages. But slowly we'll get there.
That's a good point to bring up, kind of the UI, and just like, are we prepared to onboard all of these people onto like our cutting edge technology? Like, how do you feel like the UI is progressing for Lightning? Is it prepared for the general population? Is it like prepared for an aging population that might not be familiar with the technology? And is it accessible if like you were like visually impaired or any of those things?
So all of that at the end there sounds like a huge challenge that I think Bitcoin and Lightning are still going to have a problem with. People that might have some kind of disability with their senses would definitely have a challenge doing a Lightning transaction from my kind of naive viewpoint of it. But like the rest of the, maybe for people that don't experience those sorts of issues, we can address, the general population in that sense. That I think that we're definitely getting there on the, on the side where, on the, I'm going to stutter here. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. The side where the other people hold your money. Sorry, guys. But basically it's that UX is fantastic. Wallet of Satoshi is a fantastic experience because it takes, the grand majority of that damned UX and just says, we'll take care of it. It's fine. And I think for most people, 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, across the spectrum on the planet, I think they can learn to do that process fairly easily. It's just mainly scanning QR codes and not much else. So in that sense, I think that's great. And, relatively close to the experience you might have with a debit card or if you're scanning your phone with Apple Pay or what have you. But I think the reality is, from our perspective here, all those kinds of wallets are suboptimal. We want people to be holding their own funds. We don't want people to be subject to exit scams or, information honeypots where that information is sold on the down low for whatever reason, for extortion or whatever. So I think we want people to get to the UX that right now does kind of suck. To the extent where, Jestopher, we like, I have you on the podcast because I don't understand, this huge concept of routing and how to do it well and how to be profitable and da 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 da. Not that people are necessarily going to start being, routing nodes after they learn about the Lightning Network, if they, can't afford to buy food every day or something. But, if people are, ratcheting up and getting to this level where, they should be running their own nodes, they have enough money to afford, the equipment, a Raspberry Pi, what have you. They should be doing that. And I think that UX is a goddamn nightmare. I'm, out here, doing it, every day and, playing with it every day, trying to learn every day, but it's a real challenge. And I've been touching this stuff for years. So I have a hard time saying that the UX is doing well right now overall, if we're thinking about where we want people to actually end up.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and it's more like aspirational because just thinking about this, like right now we've got the user experience of the U.S. dollar in El Salvador, and like that's the fallback system, and I like how like both are still the currency of El Salvador. So like we don't have to be perfect at this stage, but any incremental improvement essentially gives people a bank account. If we can make the UX just a little bit better, then a few more people have a bank account and will be able to save their money like in Bitcoin, which benefits all of us because that helps number go up, but also gives them access to the global financial system. So yeah, I mean, you can still pat yourselves on the back for getting us to this stage where it is like pretty easy to use. Of course, we've got a lot of work to do going forward. I'm sure Evan can go off about this with all the UI improvements that you're doing for Zeus, with the redesign. So yeah, I'm really excited about just being able to give a few more people access to the financial system and access to a bank account.
So do you mind if I ask you a question, Jestopher?
Oh, go for it.
So, we kind of started the podcast by looking at the capacity number, and you had mentioned that people like routing nodes basically were kind of reallocating their capital towards XYZ. Do you want to kind of go into a bit more detail about that and maybe relate to where you think it might make sense to open channels? Because like from my naive perspective, it might make sense to connect with Chivo, but like I might want to connect with Bitcoin Beach more kind of thing. So I would love to hear your thoughts on
that. Yeah. And some of this is just going to be limited by like how much Bitcoin you have to allocate. Because at the end of the day, this is just an allocation decision. And you do need some good, maybe the first thing to do is try and get some inbound liquidity just from different parts of the network. And like one of the easiest ways to do that is to join lightningnetwork.plus and actually create a ring of liquidity. So get a few channels out there, and like being part of a ring will give you like some inbound from other people on the network. You can also buy a channel from someone like LN Big or any of that just to get some inbound. So that means that you would be able to receive funds, and then later when you're looking to allocate and be an actual router, that's when you're going to open to one of these destinations. And the destinations might be the Chivo wallet, which is one of several IBEX nodes. So if you go onto Amboss.Space and you search for IBEX, it should give you a list of the different nodes. So if you're opening to IBEX, that would be like I'm providing routing services from like the general Lightning Network to someone in El Salvador that's receiving a remittance payment. So like that's how you provide for remittances. Just have general inbound from the Lightning Network open to the Chivo wallet, which is provided by IBEX. The other thing is if you want to supply connectivity to like merchants, you might want to open a channel to OpenNode. And so you can open a channel there, but the same concepts apply. It might make sense to start with the Chivo nodes, because as people receive remittance payments, then you'll have inbound capacity from Chivo. And so you could be the hop in between Chivo and OpenNode, which would be a destination. So that means that someone is like now using Chivo in El Salvador, and they go to pay for their cup of coffee at Starbucks. And that means that the destination of that payment would be OpenNode. So now you could be the intermediate hop between Chivo and OpenNode. So like now you're providing routing services. So it might start with remittances, but then you could be part of like day-to-day transactions. Going forward, as more nodes start popping up all over the network, you should be able to, like once you have that inbound capacity from Chivo, you could start opening to these smaller nodes, and like your individual connections and your network, like whatever makes you unique could make you more competitive as a routing node, just because you want to be between all of these payments that are happening. Let's see, that was a lot. I just ranted for a little bit, but was that helpful or?
Yeah, I think so. I think that kind of, if someone was kind of new to the whole routing idea and they really wanted to put some energy into, trying to help in El Salvador however they can, like that sounds like a real way to do that, man.
Yeah, it'll be a process, and as more people like move from custodial wallets into like actually having their own hardware, we should be able to see this the Lightning Network start providing some yields to people that are just using their capital, their savings to actually provide all of these payment services all over the network. And so my hope is that over time we'll see lots of capital move towards El Salvador, and then they'll be able to make some more international purchases elsewhere on the network, and that's when the fun really starts, as payments start flying all over the network, all over the world.
Alrighty then. So I think it would right now be a good time to mention our sponsors here.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this Lightning Friday is brought to you by Zeus Wallet. You guys ever heard of Zeus Wallet?
What's Zeus?
So Zeus Wallet is this basically the premier way to control your Lightning Network node on mobile. You could probably figure out a way to use it on desktop if you wanted to, but it's made for mobile. And it supports LND, C Lightning, Eclair, and all kinds of other fun stuff. And I hear they're working on a new design to get rid of this kind of this nightmare UI that was on here. Just kidding, but
whoever put together that ugly iteration, damn.
But yeah, I think Zeus Wallet is the wallet to get. All the other wallets are, just kind of too far behind. And I think, not trying to be shilly right now, but like I honestly believe that like Evan is doing a good job with Zeus. And we're going to see a lot more kind of privacy features in the future. I don't know this specifically, but I just feel like that's the way that this wallet's going. And I feel like it's going to be the samurai wallet of the Lightning Network one day. But maybe that's putting too much pressure on you, man.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Chaz, and everyone. I didn't write that copy for Chaz. Thank you for being genuine. So yeah, just check it out. Our website's ZeusLN.app. We are on both the iOS App Store and Google Play, as well as F-Droid. If you want to get the cutting edge version with the new redesign and not the horrid version we were lamenting about, you have to go to our GitHub page or our test flight page for iOS devices. And check it out. We are going to be putting out alpha releases every 2 weeks or so. Our next one is going to have support for Lightning addresses. And stay tuned. We got a lot of awesome stuff on the roadmap that we're hoping to drop in the fall, including support for NFC payments. Now that the cold card is going to get support for NFC, as well as external account import, so you can import your XPubs from all these other devices like Seed Signer, Spectre DIY, Keystone, Foundation Passport, so that you could do your signing for your on-chain transactions or your channel opens from these devices, and just interface and control those directly in Zeus. So we have a lot of work left to do, but I'm hoping by the end of the year we're going to have a really awesome, solid release on all the app stores. So come check it out. If you write JavaScript, TypeScript, no React Native, come check us out on GitHub. We need more contributors. We are also going to need a lot of help with translation stuff, because we're going to be building some new document sites, a new website, and a lot more copy is going into the app. And if you use it, just leave a review on the app stores. That'll help a lot. If you see any issues, just DM me or leave an issue on GitHub, and you guys keep using it. We'll keep shipping. So thank you.
Lightning Friday is also brought to you by Amboss.Space. Evan, do you want to let us know about what Amboss.Space is?
Yeah, sure. So Amboss is the absolute best Lightning Network Explorer. So what is the Lightning Network Explorer? So Lightning Network Explorer lets you see the gossip that's collecting on the Lightning Network. So unlike the data that's on the blockchain on layer 1 that you might see in a block explorer, like on blockstream.info or on mempool.space's page, where that information is in every block and everyone who's downloading the Bitcoin blockchain can access. The Lightning Network data is sort of ephemeral, and it's just broadcast from different nodes that are just saying, what they've seen, what channels they're connected to, what's available. And Amboss is just another hub on the network, and they collect the data and they display it on this amazing web interface. You can find it at Amboss.Space, AMBOSS.space. They got a lot of awesome features like communities. You could go and join like your clan of friends. You could join groups if you're a merchant to get displayed there. You can see which nodes are growing the most. You could see stats about the network. You can see how your node is doing. Or you could have some fun. You could hit up the KeySend billboard if you know how to use KeySend on CLI or with some of these other web interfaces. You can pay a couple sats and leave a message on here. You've got some really awesome notes on here. You guys should see them firsthand. I won't spoil the fun here. And yeah, a lot of awesome graphs and visuals here. And yeah, it's this is a project run by Jestopher and our very own Jestopher, as well as Tony from the Thunder Hub project, and they're doing a really great job at iterating on this thing, creating a really cool interface. They got a couple paid features too. If you're running your own node, you could get some better stats, see how you're doing over time. Some really useful data to see, how you're performing, where you should be allocating resources, things like that. So I highly recommend it. I use it personally, even if I wasn't doing a podcast with Jestopher over here, or Space rather. Yeah, it's still recommended. It's really awesome. So check it out.
Evan, that was amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing about Amboss on my behalf. But I think one of the hosts today, this podcast is also brought to you by Lightning Junkies, and Lightning Junkies is a phenomenal podcast where they go into depth about Lightning projects and isn't afraid to get into the nitty gritty of things. One of the most recent episodes was Richard Myers discussing Lot 49 protocol, which personally really excites me. I wasn't aware that you had covered that, and I'm going to run to actually listen to Lightning Network applied to mesh networks. So that would be enabling people paying for internet, if I'm understanding correctly. But then the most recent one, which we've been talking about a little bit, is the emerging circular economy in El Salvador. So that is with Nicholas Birdie of Galoy Wallet, if I'm not mistaken. So go and check that out. Chaz and Kat do a phenomenal job of producing all of this fantastic content for Lightning, as well as hosting Lightning Friday. So big shout out to Chaz and Kat.
Yeah, Kat really crushes it, helping us out and keeping us on track, doing our graphics. So shouts to Kat too.
Yeah, I'm a shout out to Kat for never talking on Twitter, not once. Just kidding. But yeah, thanks guys for saying all that. And just to kind of give you all a sneak preview of our next episode, we're going to have Anthony Ronning and Chase Perkins from Impervious.ai on, and we're just going to go through the entire damn thing and just explain everything as much as possible, find what's wrong with it, figure out how we can break the damn thing, stuff like that. That's coming out in about 2 weeks, so stay tuned, kids.
All right, that's going to be sick. Can't wait. All right, so I think we did all our plugs. Good job, all. I think we crushed it with no copy ever. So yeah, did you guys want to talk about any other topics today? Or do you guys want to start opening up the floor and start talking with some of the junkies and plebs out here?
The freaks, junkies, and plebs. So once again, I have no ability to raise anyone up here to the stage. Like I don't I don't even know how you two got up here. Like, I was just clicking wildly on my screen and hoping that you guys could get up here, and apparently it worked.
How are we still operating on this platform with all these technical issues?
I have no idea, dude. Should we just go to freaking YouTube here and just say goodbye to Twitter?
Yeah, maybe. That might be the move. We'll create our own platform powered by Sats.
I'm under the impression that they just like update Twitter Spaces like just as soon as we start talking up here. Like it's got to be because every week it's something new.
It's like they drop a release on Friday and we're all running different versions.
I always try to update my Twitter before I do this, like just to try to prevent it. But maybe that's actually causing it because it's more of a less of a stable build or something. Who knows? But it's a roundabout way of saying if you all have any questions, go ahead and DM us directly, and we'll be happy to say your question out loud and kind of talk about it, etc. But I think one thing that we can kind of bite into right away here is I think I'm probably going to try to get the dude that's doing lightning addresses. I cannot remember his name.
Andre Neves?
Yes. He does Mint Gox and Zebedee as well.
Zebedee.
Yeah,
and
looks like it's doing well. I think they raised like another huge round this week. So congrats to that team. Really awesome project. And you guys should check it out at Zebedee.io if you're not. Played a whole bunch of games of Counter-Strike on the platform for Sats. I even got a game in at the gaming arena at Bitcoin 2021. That was a whole lot of fun. Ended up late to our panel on Lightning infrastructure, but it was well worth it. So that was fun. So yeah, check them out at Zebedee. That's Zebedee with 2 E's at the end .io. Check that out. But yeah, that would be really dope. Andre's a really great guy working on cool stuff, and this new sort of protocol for sending payments is pretty awesome. There's a bit of a challenge, I would say, getting your server up and running and connecting it, or more so having like a path to connect it to your node to phone home, because it's got to be able to generate the invoices on the fly. But it's really awesome. It's like you don't have to be prompted for an invoice. You're not dependent on KeySend, which you can't keep track of because there's no invoices being generated. And I'm just excited for more platforms to integrate it. I think that would be really cool. I think it would be awesome if some of the exchanges integrated it. I really wish Twitter's implementation for tipping was a little more open and used something like this. Like I said, got a PR for supporting this in Zeus. So whenever we drop Alpha 3, probably in the next week or two, we'll get that into people's hands to mess around with. But yeah, just like in a nutshell, it's like sending Lightning payments to what looks like an email address. So you could set up an address for yourself as long as you host the domain. So we could do, Evan at ZeusLN.app, and I could start receiving payments there as long as you set up the server and connect it to your node. Did I describe that well enough, guys?
Absolutely. But I think
Evan, are you any good at Counter-Strike?
Am I any good at Counter-Strike? Not really. I mean, I think I held my own during our games, right? I was playing for BTC Pay server at the conference, and it was like me and Rockstar and a couple of randos, and we didn't fare so well. Shouts out to the Lightning Labs guys who did crush us. Oliver, he's an awesome dev working over there. He is a real killer. But Jamal was really good. Ryan was really good over there. I think some of those guys are better than me. But hey, I will play if you guys want to put some sats up. I do like having some fun, and I'm not afraid of sacrificing some sats within reason. But yeah, I just see the potential for this thing to be just massive. Like we get like a new generation of these gamers, and they're able to make these micropayment bets that are the equivalent of a couple cents, and they start pricing their gaming time in it. We're just gonna have a whole new generation of sat stackers and hodlers and people just using Lightning Network. So while the games right now they aren't mind blowing, there are a lot of really cool ones that are being built right now, including some like scavenging games and some battle royale games. Obviously Counter-Strike Go is like a decades old game, but it's still a lot of fun. And when you add that money element to it, it's like playing poker. Like there's something to gain or lose. So that dynamic is really awesome.
I think that's the part. That was the part that I was most excited about, because it was like once you die in Counter-Strike, then like the money that you've accumulated kind of just drops. And so someone might be tempted to like go and pick it up, but then they might expose their location, and then like so someone could just like immediately snipe them or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess I could say
game mode. So like, there's one where your coins drop, which is a newer one. There's also one that could be just the traditional mode is just purely based upon your kills and deaths, so you don't have to pop up and claim like the dog tags or the coins or whatever. But yeah, it's really interesting to see like how people are gonna like integrate these sort of things into games. Like for like a shooter or like a racing game, it's a little more intuitive and straightforward, but we also want to get into a domain where you're rewarding people in games like Minecraft or whatever. And what does that look like? Like, what do other competitive online games look like? What does like a Lightning integration look like in an MMO RPG? And it's just really cool. And to think that what is going to happen when the next generation of games coming out, like new titles are coming out with this by default, like what is it going to look like when the next Fortnite comes out and out of the gate it has this, or like a big sports titles, or like a Grand Theft Auto or something like Call of Duty. Like it's really exciting. And the Zebedee and the Mint Gox guys, they're putting in the work to build up this infrastructure to make all that stuff possible. And even if what's available right now is really just a glimpse of what we're going to see in the future, it's still so damn fun. Yeah, we should set up a game sometime and do a session.
I would love that.
Maybe one day we just do a dedicated Lightning Friday. We have the show going, but we're also just playing games, and listeners can jump on and bet sats, and we just talk crap. Yeah,
over to Discord.
Yeah, for sure. We could definitely set something up like that. I think there's a Mint Gox Discord. And, Andre is a really awesome member of our community, pushing this forward, pushing stuff forward, like Lightning Address. Learned a lot from him when he was presenting on Lightning at BitDevs in New York. So, yeah, we appreciate everything he and his team are doing. So, shout out to them.
So yeah,
I'm pretty excited about this Lightning address. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chaz.
I was basically going to say the same thing. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah. So, I've been kind of watching it. It just like seemed to have come up out of nowhere, almost. I mean, it came from Andre, but yeah, he just mentioned it in one of the Telegram chats, and it seems like everyone is rushing to implement it, and just like make it a part of the ecosystem. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like the major goal of this is just to have some human readable text instead of a QR code. But does it work generally with like LNURL or to use like a domain?
Yeah, so it's taking advantage of the LNURL pay spec. So traditionally, you would be like, okay, here's my LNURL endpoint. You could scan it, and when you scan it, it's going to generate an invoice for you. You could also, I guess, suppose feed amounts into it or whatnot. But now this is a wrapper for that, in which instead of having like your whatever address for it that you have dedicated for that endpoint, you now have a human readable string that sort of looks like a email address, and you get like a much smoother user experience. You just pop someone's string into your browser, your wallet, right? It'll know what endpoint to hit on that server, like how to fetch it. And you can say, okay, I'm sending Andre 10,000 sats. I'm saying, you're leaving an LNURL pay comment. You're like, hey, great job on Zebedee and Lightning addresses. And as long as his server is running, you get it out to him in seconds. So really awesome. Lot of potential there. We can now almost create sort of contact lists or address books for people and their contacts on Lightning if we get everyone onboarded onto it. And we have a couple of small challenges, though, using this LNURL pay server to sort of fetch these invoices, though. So it's really easy for a custodial service to roll this out for their users. And if you're running your own node, you could either run your own or like connect to someone else's server if you pass them Lightning, an invoice macaroon, which is an access key of sorts to be able to generate invoices on your node, which is all it really needs. So as long as the public web or whatever can hit your node and send those queries, you could hook that up. But it's sort of those middle ground apps in the middle that are not the fully custodial or fully, self-sovereign, run your own node models that it gets a little tricky for. So like, it's going to be hard to envision exactly how someone like a Breeze or a Moon or a Phoenix would be implementing this. It would sort of have to accept payments on behalf of users. And that's what I think is like the real big challenge in making this like ubiquitous and used everywhere. So let's see. I'm really optimistic for this. I think that we could see this being implemented into something like BTC Pay Server. I think that would be a perfect place to put this thing in. But it could also be implemented as an app or just built into one of these platforms like a Raspberry Blitz, an Umbrel, or a Start9, where Start9 and Umbrel have their app stores. Just create an app for Lightning addresses, and you would have to ship those over Tor, generally speaking. And I'd have to chop up things a little bit more on our Zeus PR for it to work nicely with Tor. It's totally possible and makes for an awesome experience. Tor addresses might not be as human readable, but still, if wallets start building together like contact lists, address books into them, like, could be a really awesome way to just easily send your buddy a couple sats over Lightning. So very, very encouraging to see all these people hopping on and implementing it. But there's definitely some challenges ahead for especially that middle group of wallets, those non-custodial but like light clients. So let's see.
Let me ask this
Yeah.
question.
I mean,
Sorry, but I think that part that really is fascinating to me is, would it make sense to insert like Lightning address, this aliasing thing, directly into the Lightning network? Just like how LNURL and offers is probably going to end up cohabitating. Would we even want to put this onto the Lightning Network, basically?
I definitely think that there's room to do it on the Lightning for sure. It would be cool to have a way to do this without having to rely on the rest of these web protocols. So I would say probably the best path forward would be an iteration on KeySend where there is some sort of audit trail. Obviously, there would be a lot of work to be done to make it work in that way, but yeah, I definitely foresee that being possible at some point. It's just that there's so many other things being worked on and iterated on Lightning. I'm not sure that's really a priority for anyone right now, but yeah, that's something I definitely hope to see someone tackle in the next 2 years, Chaz, for sure. It being human readable, though, I don't think so. But I think we could definitely see some enhancements to how keysends work. Oh, and for those who don't know, keysends are just push payments without the use of invoices on the Lightning Network. So you could just push forward some sats to someone's public key on the Lightning Network, to their node via the public key. But those strings are not human readable, so that's where things really would differ. But yeah, for sure, that'd be awesome to see, Chaz.
It's crazy that I don't think it's even been out for a month and it's already everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, even the wallets that, like those Breezes and Phoenixes, I feel like they're going to at least add the ability to pay them, even if it's not going to be straightforward to receive those payments. It looks like people have really been embracing this. And yeah, I just want to see more services integrated and it sort of become the norm. But yeah, let's see how it shakes out. But definitely really encouraging, and definitely a really sort of ingenious protocol enhancement. Like all the pieces were already there, and it just needed like a standard way to hit those web services. And Andre figured it out, and not only had a proof of concept and the spec written out, but he's like, oh, okay, yeah, and I also implemented it into my service that thousands and thousands of people are already using. So it's really, really cool.
So nuts. The space moves so fast, and it just kind of tells you like what is possible without requiring consensus, and just how much development is actually going on in the Bitcoin space. I think like lots of other like altcoin projects like to be critical of Bitcoin because it moves so slow, but like the speed of developments that are happening on Lightning it just blows me away. It's a full-time job just to know what's going on, and it doesn't, I mean, like you're going to need overtime. Like this is more than a 40-hour a week job just to keep up on everything. And it's just crazy how much it's a festival of innovation, because as soon as one person implements it and then they open source it, it just catches on like wildfire. I mean, just we put out the KeySend billboard, like what was that, last week? And like some other groups like already put in the work so that to add it like as a podcast, so you can essentially do like what they were calling boostograms, which so you could use the Podfriend app and like post a KeySend on our billboard on Amboss. It just blew me away that like people are just kind of like volunteering their time to like set up this infrastructure just to make it like more of a festival of innovation. Very, very inspiring.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Like just to be able to see, the rate at which things are implemented, the lack of restraints with that we see on layer one when we have to do a soft fork. We don't really have those restraints. Like all it takes is for two parties to agree to the spec on this L2 and for them to implement it and for it to work, and then that's it. And the best ideas propagate at a crazy rate, and in that regard we have a real meritocracy of these ideas. So it's rad, and like you said, like it's there's so much going on that it is like 40 hours a week plus, really, if you want to stay on top of everything. But you really just got to accept that you're not going to be able to do that. You can try to consume like the resources to try to sum up all the best stuff for you, but you sort of got to come to terms with the fact that for at least the next 5 years of this shit, it's going to be crazy, and the Lightning Network that we have today, it's probably not going to look like anything like it does like it will in 5 years. So really, really awesome, really encouraging, and just awesome to be in the midst of it and see it all play out and get to chat about it with you guys every week.
Yeah, I saw Blixt Wallet already implemented their own version of like the KeySend billboard, so it's going to be fun to watch kind of ad space just get reallocated. If you like receiving Bitcoin payments over Lightning, forget about ad space, because like why not just make it available to anyone with KeySend, and you can have this live changing billboard on your site. So yeah, no more annoying banner ads. You can just have annoying Twitter shit posts on your very own website. But it's actually really fun. I said it negatively, but it's a blast to see people just have fun with it.
We will.
Yeah, it's an awesome concept.
Sorry, I was going to say we will pay you for your trolling.
Basically, yeah. Some of the favorite comments are, personal trolls against me, which is hilarious. Yeah, yeah. I mean, how dare you troll me by paying me and posting that on my website? Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, but also, how dare you?
Yeah, it sort of like leans into like I guess KeySend for like regular messages too. Like if we were using Lightning KeySend payments for messaging, like in something like what's John Contrail's thing? I forget. Juggernaut, right? Like the fact that you could set a limit for how much someone has to pay you, at least a lower limit, right, to receive a message. Like think about all the spam you get in your emails, on your phone when you receive calls from spammers, and those text messages too. Like imagine you could get paid for all of those. And this is like an extension of that idea, but instead of seeing it on your private messaging app or on your phone, it's broadcast on pretty much a public graffiti wall on your site. So that's really cool aspect of it. But also the potential to change how advertising on the internet works, and being able to cut out those middlemen, those ad brokers, and to just have people, pay for that space directly on a more granular basis. Like, oh, you could pay this rate and you get this many impressions, and all you have to do is submit the data, make your payment, and boom, you're done. That's incredibly powerful too.
I really wish that those Gab guys actually fulfilled their promise to fork Brave browser and put in a Lightning Network wallet, because I think that would, like Joel's great, the Lightning extension Joel, but I just kind of wish we had something similar that was just baked into the browser directly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's going to be a lot of pushback from the big browser companies, like the W3 consortium. They push back against decentralized identity based on Bitcoin. So I really don't think we're going to get anything from the big guys. So I think obviously extensions are one way to go. Like we got Jewel from Willowburn, which is a really awesome product. I think we have another one out. What is the name? Have you guys checked this out? It's another Lightning interface extension by this guy named Boomy, I believe. But yeah, that looks really promising too. And he's building some awesome paywall software. But yeah, I think that the next thing on that front, if it's not done through extensions, is going to have to be like a brand new browser, because I really don't see any of the existing players getting on board with any of this. And while that is a challenge for adoption, I think, there's still a lot of room. Like we saw Brave Wallet come from Brave Browser and Brave Wallet come pretty much out of nowhere. And all it takes is to get some users and websites agreeing to some protocols for this all to work on. So let's see.
Yeah, and then we'll just pivot to a shitcoin and it'll be great, right?
Lightning Friday coin.
That was not serious. I was trying to make fun of that Brandon or Brendan, I can't remember which one, the JavaScript guy that started Brave.
Oh, Brandon Ike, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Brave has a lot of awesome stuff going for it, but yeah, I mean, that token, that unnecessary token, is a real killer. But, if you want to use it as a means of raising funds, it doesn't really work on Bitcoin, You got to create your own shitcoin, really, to raise money. So, yeah, I fear that that's going to continue to be the trend for a while, but people need to really just stay focused and realize that we don't need any of that junk. We can pay content creators with Bitcoin, with sats, and we don't need them holding or bag holding any of these shitcoins. But yeah, I mean, if you want to use it as a mechanism to raise funds, if you want to airdrop these tokens on users, if you want to be the next Federal Reserve of this new generation of wallets and browsers, sure, make your own token, but we're going to stick over here and focus on the signal and not the noise, and keep building on Bitcoin.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and give a final call. If anyone has any Bitcoin Lightning questions, please DM me, Evan, or Jestopher, and go ahead and give us that question. If not, we're going to go ahead and close this baby out in the next 5 minutes, just to give you a heads up here.
Oh, I did get a question. Let's see, from 100 Moscow time. Does Z Wallet support multisig for all the different hardware devices you mentioned? Cold Card, Passport, Seed Signer, DIY Spectre, etc.
Okay, so you must be talking about Zeus. I got the same DM. So yeah, I would love for us to have support for multisig out the gate. I think it's going to be possible, but I think our first iterations of this are going to just be single sig to begin with.
But we'll keep you posted. Dev on this has really just started. But anyone who is running their node at home and using LND should be able to use all those different hardware devices and do their on-chain transactions and channel opens with offline signing from these devices. So look out for that. It's going to be really exciting. And once that basic support is out with QR codes and cameras, NFC support is going to be really close behind. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully this fall or this winter, the latest, we'll get that in your hands. So stay tuned. Thanks.
All right. How about a final topic here to kind of close this out? What is exciting you about the Lightning Network currently or in the future here?
I'm really excited to just continue to watch El Salvador have this new payment system emerge. Really excited to see all the different companies, start adopting this, and maybe they'll like it so much that they'll be accepting Lightning payments elsewhere, just because they don't have chargebacks anymore, or the fact that their users really like the privacy, or the fact that they don't have to pay as much to the credit card companies just to do commerce. So yeah, I'm anxiously awaiting for them to start commenting on this. Yeah, we'll stay tuned.
Yeah, for me, this week was really crazy. It was really awesome going and seeing some people using Zeus wallet and using it on frivolous things like Big Macs, and trying to turn some of their sats to dollars at the ATMs, and that was cool. And it really love seeing the innovation on the network, like Lightning addresses, and people trying to leverage the Lightning network for different things. But all those things are sort of like, for what ends are they? And I'm really excited about the prospect of this technology really empowering people who are in tough spots, not ideal financial situations. And the prospect of these tools and this technology, this network, and this underlying hard money that's powering it all, just the prospect that it could improve people's lives is what makes it all worth it. So just hoping to see more people who need it using it. Looking forward to more nation states adopting it, and just looking forward to this thing continuing to change the world for the better. So that's what this is all about for me.
Perfectly said, you guys. All right, I think if we don't have any more questions, I think we're at the end of our little Lightning Network chat here.
Great rip, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for hosting.
Absolutely, you guys. I'm glad you guys were able to make it in. I know you guys are in complicated situations that aren't conducive to talking in a Twitter space, so I'm glad you're able to jump on here.
Absolutely. Love chatting with you guys. Love hearing from everyone, answering questions, talking Lightning. And yeah, what do you guys say? Let's do it again next week?
Let's do it, dude.
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. I think this is the end. And for the rest of you, I will see you on the Lightning Network.
Peace.
Peace.